recognize Ms. Scholten.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. And thank you to our chairman and ranking member for holding this really important hearing today. Welcome to our esteemed panelists. We thank you as well for your witness and testimony here today, as well as the work that you do when you're not before us. It has been a challenging time for aviation. I was talking with constituents back home, and we said, you know, this was not supposed to be an aviation year, but it is, because we are at a moment of true crisis that is costing lives, and it is essential that we respond in kind. Recent tragic air traffic collisions, as well as DOGE's senseless mass layoffs of aviation professionals, have stoked uncertainty and fear in the industry and in the American public. However, I am proud to be a part of a committee that is so dedicated to working in a bipartisan fashion to keep our skies safe. That is why we worked so hard on the FAA reauthorization of 2024, and I encourage the Department of Transportation to swiftly implement the legislation to ensure that it remains safer today to fly than ever before in American history. Before I jump into my questions, I just want to confirm my understanding here. Mr. Daniels, can you please clarify who currently represents the nation's air traffic controllers?
Good morning, Congresswoman, and I do. I am a 26-year veteran of air traffic control, and I am the elected National Air Traffic Controllers Association president.
And you speak on behalf of them here today?
I do.
Okay, thank you. The FAA owned and operated air traffic control tower at GRR in my district, like many across the country, is in desperate need of modernization and relocation. At 60 years old, this air traffic control tower is one of the oldest among the top 75 busiest airports, nearly 20 years older than the majority of air traffic control towers. However, the FAA has not provided GRR with any sense of when it will invest in this ATC, despite the airport having completed designs for its future tower and despite consistently being told that we are number 2 on the priority list. Mr. Callio, with the FAA having approximately $5.2 billion in a sustainment backlog for aviation facilities and systems, can you please speak to how greater congressional investment in the FAA's facility and equipment account would maintain and modernize ATC throughout the U.S. to keep our aviation professionals and air travelers safe? That was you.
Sorry about that. There's a variety of ways. First of all, we talked a little earlier about, in 1995, Congress gave the FAA procurement authority. It's rarely been exercised, or at least we believe exercised appropriately. And what we have to do is use this time to galvanize all of us to stop talking about the things we've been talking about, at least in my experience, for almost 15 years. We've talked about them over and over again. I think the trick here is to figure out what everyone can do together. Everybody at this table has come together representing an awful lot of the aviation industry. We all have our differences. We came together and provided this committee with a letter of recommendations that could be done. Those need to be looked at carefully, followed, and implemented. And that takes a little pressure on the FAA. It takes looking at new ways of doing things. I recounted earlier, Congresswoman, that when I first came here to testify 14 years ago, after 3 days on my current job, I said we were at an inflection point, and I came with a stack of GAO studies and Inspector General Report studies that have been written for years, all saying the same thing over and over again.
Modernizing our aviation infrastructure and addressing the industry's workforce shortage are intricately linked. We have to upgrade our aging system to equip our highly skilled aviation workforce with the tools they need to do their jobs well. Unfortunately, the ability of technical professionals to repair our aviation infrastructure and staff to these towers is very limited. Mr. Daniels, with a looming government shutdown in just 10 days, how would the administration and majority's potential failure to act put further strain on our air traffic controllers?
Congresswoman, thank you again for the question. It will sever the artery, which is the pipeline of air traffic controllers in the system, by shutting down the Oklahoma City Academy. Not only that, You then have air traffic controllers that deal with the stresses and pressures every day of this system, making thousands of decisions in a moment's notice, handling and caring for the sky, now starting to worry about their daily paycheck. We live like every American does, and a lot of times that's paycheck to paycheck, and putting those stresses and pressures on that puts us in a very vulnerable position and adds risk to the system.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you. I yield back.